So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Rich Clark, and this week and the next few weeks, I'm going to talk about my spiritual work. So, yes, I'm a hypnotherapist, yes, I'm a CBT practitioner, and yes, I do psychotherapy. But I'm going to talk about my spiritual work. And the first topic I'm going to talk about is how to spiritually connect with your ancestors without cultural appropriation. So, the second bit is very important. So, when we look at spiritual connection, we hear a lot of people say how they connect to people or they connect to a certain type of spirituality. So, for example, if people are native in America, they connect with that tribe. If they are African, they may work with certain tribes or Egyptology. If you're Indian, you'd go to that type of thing. If you're Persian, you go to that, and so forth and so on. If it's Shinto Buddhism, and the list goes on. But the one thing I'm going to explain is how I help clients tap into the connection with their ancestors. And this becomes not cultural appropriation because it actually gives them personalized mantras through a system. So with our idea of our identity and who we are, is we all have lineage. So yes, we could be born anywhere, different lineage, people have different things, but then that can go into many different lineages. So we can go into what we call our ancestral lineages, which is what our biologically ancestry goes from to that. We also, if we understand the way I understand from my understanding of Indian culture with reincarnation, we also have our reincarnated past lives as well. So that also is very important. So when we tap into our identity, you've got to remember that every part of our ancestors, everything they've gone through, everything they've dealt with, the good and the bad, all comes through the DNA of your mother or your father or whoever the sperm donor is or whatever that is, and it goes into you. So that becomes your identity. Now, what I do is because my name is Rich Clark Guide the Right Path, it's actually to get you to guidance to the right path through them ancestors. So what do we do? So we would do the first session is connection to guides. And this is where I would put a client into hypnosis and they will be put into a safe space. They'll be putting into a safe space. They then are given a safety thing to like a talisman or something like that to go into. So if there's anything uncomfortable, they can then always go back to that safe space or whatever they want. However, what they will do is they'll have the safe space and all that to go to, and then they will go to the place where their guides are. So people will go to the place where their guides are, or they'll meet the first guide, and the guide will then take them to that place. What I do is with that is while they're in hypnosis, I then connect them to that specific guide, and then that guide will give them their own affirmation or mantra. The affirmation or mantra will also be personally connected to them. So instead of someone saying, "Oh, I use Omne Padme," or "I use this Hebrew saying," or whatever it is, which is very generalized, this goes into the idea of the Gnostic idea of that we connect to our ancestors and we connect through our own connection with the idea of our connection to the divine. This helps with trauma healing. It makes you authentic in the way you work. So then that means that you can't just give that mantra to anybody. You can't just teach anybody that mantra because it has to be via your connection. And what you would do is once you learn these things, you will then be able to do daily meditation or visualization, and you'll be able to connect to whatever them ancestors are. Now, with most people, I usually give them one or two to start with. Usually, when I do another session, I give them a bit more. It depends what they want. Most people usually just want general, so it's usually business or career. And then some people want relationships, and then some people want more. But it depends. And they will all come through as different things. So some things will come through, like I said, as their ancestors. Some things will come through as spirits. Some people see them as colors. Some people see them as different ways. But the one thing is it to be aligned with the client. And this is where I feel that the world is missing out on spirituality. And a lot of that is through people religiously saying you shouldn't connect to your guides, you shouldn't do this is devil's work. It's not. It is actually the most sacred work you can be doing because you are connecting to the ancestors, the people who have brought you onto this earth. And this lineage through your bloodline is very important. So, how would you do that? Well, you would book a session with myself for a discovery call of what you want to do, where you're stuck in your life. And then this way, you would discover your own ancestral symbols and rituals using in a hypnotherapy session, and then you would be able to apply this to what you ever want to do. Also, I have other programs as well, which should actually help you if you want to do your own business and things, because we could then connect with them guides, and then we'll use the guides to help you to actually connect with you in that way, to give you the information. So as of the next few weeks, I'm going to be talking about my spiritual stuff a lot because I really do enjoy it. And I think it gives absolute help to a lot of people. And I generally like hypnotherapy. I do like, getting people over whatever it is, whether they want to better their voice, whether it's a fear or trauma. But this way you can do things very powerfully. It does a lot of inner healing. And it also gets people healing, connecting to knowing who they are, knowing why they do things, why they act a certain way, what is their lineage. And because it's helped me to learn my lineage, which I will talk about in more details in the next few weeks, but I'm going to talk about what my lineage is. So my lineage is, yes, my mum and dad are English. Then it would also seem that their parents are also English. But then it gets a bit more interesting. So my mother's grandfather was Irish, and her great grandmother was actually Indian from Tamil Nadu. She was from Madurai. And she was actually from a woman who actually became a healer, and she gave up the daughter as an orphan. And so my great grandmother in a Madurai orphanage, and the British Raj took these children and they sold them to rich families. So they would have actually been taken from Madurai, gone to then Madras, and then they actually went on a boat and they were bought. It's a hideous thing to think of now, but that is what happened. So my great grandmother was brought up as this white woman, but she actually was born in India. So the spiritual heritage of what I do is from that lineage. So it's from my mother's lineage. My father's lineage is that his great grandfather was also from, though he was Welsh, his actual family were brought up in India and had an Indian mother. So I have also from my father's side an Indian heritage as well. So if you look at me, you'd think, well, where's that come from? So it's very distant, but it's where I align with. My great grandmother also, though her father was also Persian, he was Iranian. So my great grandmother was born from an Iranian father who was in India, got my great great grandmother pregnant, who was a Tamil healer, and they obviously met somehow in the village, in the town, the city of Madurai, which was a very holy city at the time, and they got together. And she got pregnant. She didn't want to have a child. She never had any more children, and she just did her level of spiritual service. And so the lineage of that comes through me. My mum has some gifts, but she just never honed it. She's scared of using it, whereas I've actually learned to use it. So that is where my spiritual thing comes from, and I connect with my guides. So I connect with my father, I connect with my mother's father, grandfather, my grandfather, my next door neighbor Felix. I connect with my past lives, and I connect with my great grandmother and a few others. So I know how it works for me. So anyway, if you are interested in a session, please go to www.richclark.net and you would actually do the free discovery call. But then if you want to book a session, it's connect to guides. And I'm also going to have a landing page, which is also going to talk about past life regression sessions and future life progression sessions. Well, you can see the future from 1, 2, 5, 10 years ahead, and also your past life, which is what they call Akashic records and things different cultures call it. But you can do that as well with myself. So until next time, I shall speak to you soon.